Hello Hearties, it's Catherine Watkin of Selling from the Heart, and today I want to talk to you about something that I actually got wrong myself in the first few years that I was in business. And it's also something that I talk about when it comes to talking about building a business that you can fall in love with, because it's so easy to set out and create a business based on something that you love to do, only to find later on that actually you don't enjoy running it as much as you thought you would. Now, there are other pieces that come into this, including finding marketing approaches that you enjoy and that feel in flow for you, and also about, the way in which you work with and deliver to your clients. But for me, a really big piece of this is about your business model, and getting a business model that really suits you. And, for me, what I found was that without this understanding, it was just too easy for me to get confused between different business models. And what can actually happen is that without even realizing that you're doing it, you can set out and effectively be working towards several different business models all at the same time and not really realize just why it is that you're finding things so overwhelming and wondering why you're working so hard but feel like you're not really moving forward. And also, like I said, this is what can lead to you building a business that on paper looks really successful but doesn't feel as good, or that success doesn't feel as good as you thought it might. And this is what happened to me. So in my early days in business, I did what we all do. I went and I sought out my role models and my mentors. And what I didn't know at the time is that most people teaching business are teaching you how to do the thing that worked for them. And of course, there's nothing wrong with this. Like, we would rather people teach what they know and what they've had success in. But what I found is that very few people talk openly about the fact that there is no one way to make a business work, and that for every business model that works for one person, that same business model might not work for the next person, and that there are lots of different ways of making our businesses work for us depending on our unique personalities and strengths and weaknesses. So as it happens, I came across my first two business, my first role models, my first two business mentors, and both of them ran what I call a live event model and a high ticket model. And so, of course, that's what I ended up doing. I was running live events and I was selling places on a high ticket mentoring program priced between $5,000 and $10,000 per person, depending on various factors. Now, at that time, I was also running an online program, which gets amazing results. I'm really passionate about it. And I just felt almost desperate to be reaching more people with this online program. But I was so busy running the model that I was following that although I was running that online program every year, I wasn't reaching the numbers of people that I really wanted to. And, and the reason that I ran the model or followed the model that my mentors told me to was because they actually said to me, Catherine, if you want your business to be successful, then you have to have a high-end offering. And that was how I came to run this sort of high-end mentoring program that I ran for 4 years, first 4 years of my business. And they were right. They were absolutely right. I made money very quickly. I was very quickly doing 6 figures plus in my business. But they were also wrong because something was missing for me. And it was that feeling that I wanted to reach more people through my online program. And it was only later, quite a bit later, that I came across a different set of role models, this time in the online world. And these were people like Amy Porterfield and Marie Forleo and Denise Duffield-Thomas, women a lot like me, with online programs very similar to mine, who were basically just selling their online program and making millions of dollars doing it. And I realized then that actually this other model would also have worked for me if I had found the right teachers and if I had just understood that it was a possibility. And, it might be the same for you. It might be that you have got caught up in believing that the only way to make your business work is to have an online program, because I know that there are a lot of people out there teaching that. They're talking about passive income and leverage and moving away from time for money. But what if what lights you up and what you want to do more than anything is to work intensively and deeply and intimately, one-to-one with your clients, maybe even in person in your own clinic or therapy or treatment room? And if you do, then that is a 100% viable and valid business model. There are many people I know, many clients of mine who run that model. Yes, you do need to structure it and price it to make it profitable for you, but it's totally doable. Or you might be someone who's being told that the only way to make your business work is to run live events or to go out and give talks. But maybe you're the sort of person who just feels exhausted and drained even just thinking about that, and that you're never happier than curled up in your pajamas at home with your laptop, posting on social media and interacting with people all over the world. And so, it's so important that we find the model that suits us and our personalities. Because the thing is, all of these different business models work. And they also all don't work. So if they're not right for you, you'll find it really hard to keep springing out of bed in the morning and doing the work that you need to do, because the one that will work for you is the one that feels in flow for you, the one that lights you up, the one that you want to keep on doing for the next 5, 10, 15 years, the one that never has you feeling drained, that never has you questioning whether you've really got it in you to do this for another year. And so, I thought I'd talk about some of these different business models, and this is not an exhaustive list. It's just to sort of show you all the different ways in which you could choose to structure your business if you choose to. So of course, we've got the one-to-one model, which I've already touched on. This is where you will choose to work one-to-one with clients intensively, using your gifts and talents. It might be coaching, it might be consulting type work, it might be transformational healing or therapy. And that is a 100% viable business model, and do not ever let anyone tell you it's not. If that's what you feel called to do, just get help from somebody who knows what they're doing, who can help you structure it and help you make it work for you. Then the next sort of level almost would be to take that and move into what I call high-end or high-ticket group programs. So this could be masterminds or mentoring, or it could be year-long transformational programs. And it can be high numbers sometimes, but the beauty of this is you don't need high numbers to really make this work. So when I ran mine, I used to have about 20 people a year in mine, and I would usually do, 6 figures and above just through 20 people a year in that program. Another similar model would be a retreat model. So maybe you would love to run retreats and take people to exotic locations so that you can take them away from their everyday lives and get to do some really intensive work. So a retreat model might involve you selling a program that includes, say, 3 or 4 retreats a year, and in between there are online elements to keep people connected in between times. Another business model would be a live event model. So a typical version of this would be selling a one-day workshop at a very accessible price, but using that one-day workshop to sell something like a 3-day training at a much higher price point, or even a series of live trainings. Or you might use that live event to sell your high-end group program. A similar model, but more suitable for people in the more early stages of business, because in the early stages of business you often haven't built up your following, and so you might not be able to fill a really large event. You may not be able to get 100 people in if you're in the early stages. It's simply a workshop model, and with a workshop model you're not talking about filling the Alexandra Palace. You just need a few people to come to your workshops and use those workshops to sell your next step, which might well be your one-to-one work or your one-to-one program. Then we start moving into the online model. So a typical online model would be the online program, usually an online group program where you deliver your training modules, and then you offer interactive elements like group coaching calls or Q&A calls, and very often a Facebook group to support people as they work through your program. The other, and you know, the online program piece, it sounds glamorous. You can reach a lot of people at one time from all over the world, and a lot of people feel really called to that. I know that I do, but it's also a very lonely and isolating way of running a business, and it doesn't suit everybody. So if you're a real people person and you like to be around people, you might find that an online model where you're spending a lot of time at home, predominantly working through your computer in the way that I do, is not a model that really makes you happy, because we're all different. Then we've got things like digital products and courses. So this would be something like an online program, but where you don't provide any support, where you just sell the program and people follow it as a home study. And this is often touted as the holy grail of the passive income. You know, have a digital product and you don't ever have to do any work again. You can just sit back and sip your cocktail and watch the money pop in. Now, I did this for a year. I sold my program as a home study only. Now, for me personally, it was not a fulfilling way to run a business. I really missed having the connection with my students. I really missed being able to speak to them and answer their questions and guide and help them to get the support they wanted. So I realized very quickly that a business model without contact with my customers is not for me. Then you've got the membership model. So, you know, and of course, within online programs, you might have the standard sort of online program might be somewhere between £500 and £3,000, somewhere in that region. But then there might be more high ticket programs. So, you know, like the 3,000 to 10,000. So you might have a group online program that you charge £10,000 for. There's no sort of one way of doing any of this. And then you've got something like the membership model, and the membership model is typically designed to be something that's accessible for large numbers of people at once, but at a very low monthly investment, so that it's affordable for people to continue to pay. And it's normally a month on month, although you can have annual memberships as well. And the advantage of this is that you can have lots of people benefit from your work at the same time. Another great advantage of a membership model is it gives you something called recurring income. Because all of those people are paying you monthly, you know every month on month that you have an income coming in next month. So it's really powerful if you feel like you want to get off the income roller coaster, or even if you're selling an online program, which is what I've always done. You can find that all of your income comes in peaks just a couple of times a year, and there's not much in between while you're focused on your marketing. So the membership model can be great for that consistent income where you know what's coming in every month. Then if we go and look at the corporate sector, so those of you that might be selling to the corporate market, things like the training and consulting model, where you might go into a corporate organization, deliver some training for a team. Then off the back of that, you might do some one-to-one executive coaching with some of the senior members of the team. You might even put together a 6 or a 9 month program to support that team that includes regular one-day trainings and some in-between group coaching. Then you've got something like franchising and licensing. So maybe you have created your own unique methodology or system that you take clients through, and now you want to be able to expand, but you don't want that to be you that's actually doing the work with the clients. And so you might either set up a franchise model or a licensing model where you're training other people to deliver your program and your offering for you. And of course, you might have a combination. So do you see how there are so many different ways to do it? And I'm sure, you know, I just was thinking of a few different ideas to share with you just as examples, that there are many, many more types of business model. And of course, it might be a combination. So in the first 5.5 years I was in business, my business model was an online program that I launched once a year. Then the people who did that course would come to a one-day live event. And then at the live event, I would sell a 12-month business mentoring program at the high ticket price point. So I had that combination of online program, live event model, and high ticket model. Now, I've switched since then because, like I said earlier on, it worked financially. On paper, my business was successful, but it wasn't somehow as fulfilling for me as I had imagined it would be. And I have now had a complete switch in business model. I still run the online program once a year, the Get More Clients Saying Yes course. It gets people great results. I love running it. I'm really passionate about reaching people with it. But the next step beyond that, instead of being a high ticket program that starts at £5,000, I now have a monthly, very low investment membership program where actually I provide all the same support that I used to provide for £5,000, in some ways actually more support, but this time it's accessible even for people who are in the very early stages of business who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford to get that sort of support with their business. And this works beautifully for me because I know that I'm able to reach many more people, and that anyone who values my approach and wants to get advice and help from me can afford to do that. So, what about you? I'd love to hear from you. What are you getting from watching this video today? Is this making you realize that you have not had clarity about your business model, and that you've been sort of shooting off and trying different things and finding that you're not getting clarity with, you're not getting traction with any of it because you're not clear enough on where you're going? Or are you starting to see that you have got caught up in working towards a business model that actually is what someone else has told you will work, but isn't necessarily what's going to really light you up? It's so important that, you want a business, not just something that's going to be successful on paper for the next year or two, and then you burn out and give up because you don't have what it takes to keep pushing through what doesn't truly feel in flow for you. What you really want is something that lights you up, that you feel happy to do for years and years to come. And that's more important than what that specific business model is. So I really hope that this video today has given you some clarity. Maybe it's to recommit to a dream that you always had, that you haven't been following. So I'd love to know from you. I'd love to hear your insights and what's landed for you. Do go ahead and post. So below this video, there'll be on the blog, there'll be a comments place. Do post and let me know. And I will see you very soon for the next video. Lots of love to you. Bye-bye.